After speaking with hundreds of beginner learners of the German language, I have noticed common patterns that contribute to why people struggle with learning German. In this video, I will share these insights with you and also discuss what you can do instead so that you can save time, avoid these mistakes, and learn more effectively. If you're new to this channel, hello and herzlich willkommen. My name is Salome and I help people relocating to Germany, Switzerland, or Austria become confident and conversational in German. I work with over 100 students in the German Fluency Academy, guiding them from saying their very first words all the way to having their first conversations in German. If that's something you'd like to achieve as well, check the description box below for the link to my free taster lesson. So what are some common reasons why people fail to learn German, and how can we avoid these and learn smarter and not harder? The number one reason why many language learners fail is not taking full ownership of their progress. I came across a quote recently that really stuck with me. A language cannot be taught, it can only be learned. Let that sink in. A language cannot be taught, it can only be learned. So what does that mean? Sure, a teacher can provide guidance, instructions, and most importantly, feedback to steer you in the right direction. But ultimately, it's up to you to put in the work. Sitting down, reviewing the material, making sure you internalize it and putting it to use. It's like if you'd say, I want to get fit, but then never show up to the gym. A trainer can only train you if you actually show up. I wish there was a USB stick where I could just download everything from my brain and give it to you, but that's not how it works, at least not yet. People buy courses, lessons, books, and apps, which are all great tools, but you still have to commit to the learning process. So what does that look like in practical terms? For every lesson of learning with a teacher, I dedicate at least 1 to 2 hours of self-study, and I've learned 4 foreign languages by now up to a fluent level. I know it's not what people want to hear. People hope for a quick fix, a 10-minute session on an app, and then magically becoming conversational overnight, but that's not going to happen. Now, I do understand that not everybody can dedicate this much time to learning a language. In the German Fluency Academy, for example, the lessons are broken down into bite-sized segments of 15 to 30 minutes, depending on the topic. And then the students are expected to spend roughly the same amount of time on self-study to complete the tasks assigned to them. This way, with a minimum amount of time per day but consistent effort, you can still make significant progress. Does that sound doable to you? If so, you might want to check out my free taster lesson that is linked below in the description box, and by the end of that lesson, you'll find out more on how you can join us inside the German Fluency Academy. Speaking of consistency, how can you actually stick to it? There are 2 key factors to consider. First, you want to block out time in your calendar that is realistic based on your personal schedule. So set realistic expectations for how much time you can dedicate to learning German over the next 2 months. Why 2 months? Because it takes about 2 months to establish a new habit, and once your routine is set, it will be much easier to stay consistent. The second factor is to make your learning enjoyable. If your routine is boring, you're less likely to stick with it. So, what makes language learning enjoyable? Among the many options, apps, TV shows, movies, songs, podcasts, etc., the one thing I found most enjoyable is learning with others. Whether that's with people who are on the same journey as you, like an accountability buddy, or by interacting with native speakers through a language exchange, community plays a big role. So in the German Fluency Academy, for example, students interact with each other, motivating and inspiring one another while holding each other accountable. We also do regular speaking activities so you can put your knowledge into practice. With a strong support system and people cheering you on, you're much more likely to stay committed to the process. Another major mistake people make that causes them to quit learning German is setting unrealistic expectations in terms of their proficiency level, which is only partly their fault and partly due to how language learning is advertised these days. Phrases like "become fluent in 30 days" are all too common. The truth is, learning a language takes time, and it's going to be very messy in the beginning. You'll make a lot of mistakes, and speaking for the first time will feel very uncomfortable. But that's okay. It's completely normal and it's part of the process, and it gets better with time. So, what are realistic expectations? This depends on how much time you can dedicate to learning German and what your goals are. If you just want to get by in daily life, like interacting with the cashier or ordering your coffee in German, that can easily be achieved within 4 to 6 weeks. However, if you're aiming to build strong conversational skills, it might take anywhere from 6 months to a year, depending on how much time you can dedicate, your native language, whether you've learned other foreign languages before, and whether you live in a German-speaking country. There are different stages of learning German, and how long it takes can vary. If you'd like me to make a separate video on that, let me know in the comments below. So, setting realistic goals for yourself is key to avoid disappointment and quitting the process altogether. Alright, now that we've covered a lot of the mindset aspects of language learning, like taking ownership, making it enjoyable, embracing mistakes, and setting realistic goals and expectations, let's also dive into the nitty-gritty of where people often fail when it comes to actually learning the language. So the vocabulary, the grammar, the structure of learning, and all the other essentials. The most common reason why German learners don't succeed is because of trying to memorize endless lists of vocabulary that aren't relevant to their daily life. You won't become conversational by simply memorizing words if you don't know how to use them in a sentence. To become conversational, you'll need to know roughly 3,000 words in German, but not just random words. These should be highly relevant to the topics you're interested in, enjoy talking about, and encounter in your daily life. If you've ever felt that memorizing new vocabulary is an uphill battle, it's likely because you're not learning the words in context. Context helps the brain learn and retain words, as it allows you to connect them to a story, an image, a scenario from your daily life, or even just putting it in a sentence can help you memorize it more easily. For example, if you love going to the gym, focus on learning vocabulary specific to the sports you enjoy doing, or on phrases that help you to actually connect with the people from your gym. Or if you enjoy cooking, it makes sense to learn vocabulary related to the ingredients or the dishes that you're making, so that you could tell a German-speaking friend or family member about it. So you get the idea. Another very common reason people struggle with learning German is obsessing over grammar. Things like the articles, the cases, the verb conjugations, what have you. Yes, grammar is important in language learning, and German grammar can feel especially overwhelming, particularly if English is your native tongue and possibly the only language you speak. But grammar shouldn't hold you back from communicating with people. Why? Because even native speakers make mistakes and get confused. Let me share a recent story. I was chatting with some friends, 2 German teachers and a German copy editor, a great combo if you ask me, about whether it should be der Gulasch or das Gulasch. So, is goulash a masculine or neuter noun? That was basically what the discussion was about. Everyone was completely confident their version was correct. After much back and forth, we finally looked it up in the Duden, which is the official German dictionary, and guess what? Both are correct. And why am I telling you this story? Because even native speakers get confused, and sometimes it's not black and white. It's totally normal, so don't let grammar perfection stop you from speaking and learning. Another common mistake a lot of beginners make is not having a clear structure for your learning or struggling to find the right course that provides it. If you've never learned another foreign language before or only learned one when you were much younger, it can be quite challenging to organize your learning on your own. That's why I almost always recommend finding a course that gives you structure and helps you to stay on track. So how do you find the right course? This depends on your goals. Many of my students have previously tried the academic route with the traditional language classes. While these can be great for grammar and passing exams, they're not always focused on practical usage. So if your goal is to quickly pass an exam, that type of course might be the right choice. However, if you're looking to learn German from a more practical standpoint, it might not be the best fit. In the German Fluency Academy, nearly every aspect of the program is designed designed to teach practical German, including grammar explanations. These are also integrated into audios, with native speakers allowing you to observe and learn how to apply concepts naturally. So if your goal is to learn practical German for daily life and build real confidence in speaking the language, the German Fluency Academy could be the right fit for you. My free taster lesson linked below is a great way to see if it aligns with your goals. Another common reason why people fail to learn German is translating sentences word for word in your head. The problem with this approach is that it slows you down. Conversations happen quickly, with a lot of back and forth, and if you're busy translating everything, you'll struggle to keep up, and that ultimately leads to frustration and giving up the whole thing. So what to do instead? Focus on keywords and use them to piece together the gist of what's being said. Even if you don't understand every single word, paying attention to the context will help you grasp the main idea of the conversation. So I hope this video has given you a clearer idea on how to structure your learning and what to look out for. And if you also want to know which common mistakes beginners make in the German language, so mistakes that can make native speakers cringe, and how to avoid them, be sure to check out this video next. It will help you steer clear of these pitfalls. I'll be back next week with another lesson for you guys. Das ist alles für heute. Vielen Dank fürs Zuschauen und bis zum nächsten Mal. Tschüss!